Wasson from CreativeGuitarStudio.com. Chords are absolutely integral when it comes to being able to build a solid skill set for playing rhythm guitar. There's a lot of different chords to learn, but far too many players allow chord study to kind of take a back seat after learning a couple of popular chord categories, and those categories would definitely include the open position shapes, and then after that a few of the movable bar chord patterns along the neck. Then after that point, a lot of times chord study kind of takes a hike to nowhere for many players. A lot of times down the road, you pick up yourself and go from the point that you're at and start learning more chords. So in this video, what we're going to do is just move into that area right away. So we're going to take a look at the next quality level up of chords, and that is 7th chords. We're going to study 10 different 7th chord patterns on the neck, and these shapes are going to be of great value to your playing ability because they're used in all kinds of music styles. We're going to go over some of that later, and they make up a group of what I call the need-to-know chord patterns on the guitar. So let's get started. The first chord shape that we're going to look at is the diminished 7th chord. I'm going to be doing all these shapes off of root of C, focusing primarily on the C tone at the 5th guitar string 3rd fret and at the 6th guitar string 8th fret. And this first chord of diminished 7th is a really interesting chord. It's very unstable, and you'll most often find it leading its way up to a minor triad or a minor 7th chord. So if I was playing a C in terms of the diminished 7th, I would be traveling up to a resolution at a D flat for a minor, or a D flat minor 7. And quite often the diminished 7th chord is preceded a half step back by a major chord. So altogether that 3-step movement is quite nice. B, major triad, C, diminished 7th, and then D flat, minor. Very nice movements there, a nice sound. So that's the first chord I want to show you, the diminished 7th, also often called the fully diminished. Now let's take a look at another chord related to this chord. It's called minor 7 flat 5, generally also referred to as a half diminished. We're going to go up the neck a little bit here with this version. Minor 7 flat 5 most often occurs on the second step of a minor keys harmony. It'll often go over to a dominant chord and then resolve into a 1 chord that's minor or minor 7. So in this case, this is called a 2-5-1 minor progression. Really nice sounds with that one. So that's a C minor 7 flat 5, and I just moved over to an F dominant 7th, and then into a B flat minor 7 chord to wrap up the progression. Very jazzy, very commonly used in jazz, of course. So that's the minor 7 flat 5, also called the half diminished. Now let's look at another one. The third one I have for you is a minor 7, but kind of a different voicing. A lot of people learn minor 7 as a bar chord, but this one here is a little bit different. It's a minor 7th chord pattern with no 5th, so has no G from the root of that C tone. So it's got the root, it's got the minor 3rd, flat 7, and then another octave of the minor 3rd up on the 2nd string there. And that can be used very commonly as a root chord or a 4 or a 5. If I had a jam, using it. Hear really nice sound. Minor 7, often used in soul R&B, sometimes even Motown jams and so forth. So that's the third chord. Now the fourth chord I have for you is getting into a little bit of altered territory. It's going to go back over here to the 6th string 8th fret C, and we're going to be looking at the dominant 7th flat 5, dominant 7th with a diminished 5th. Now, a lot of times what we have happen is the upper tone likes to drop down for a resolution, so we could drop down and do a resolution there into B flat minor 7. Could even drop down, do a resolution into F minor 7 chord. Would be a really nice one because that's a 5-1. One more time. So you can tell really interesting sounds there for that one. And you know, overall, what's also pretty cool is the flat 5 effect that we have, that altered effect. You know, if we do drop down and maybe I had taken a minor 7, you could take a major 7 though too. Any of these cases where you make some kind of a resolve to a minor, usually with an altered chord, you could have a choice there. You know, dominant even. You know, have a dominant chord for a resolve. So you could do C dominant 7 flat 5. And then drop down to a B flat dominant 7th. So there's a lot of options there, you know, when you're doing altered chords. Let's move on. I want to just talk, you know, quickly about one shape that's often very different for people in the dominant 7th chord. So my 5th shape here I have for you is dominant 7th. It's going to be a bar off of the 4th guitar string. And the root of the shape is actually on the 3rd guitar string. So this is a C7 chord. But the root is on 3rd string, 5th fret. So a lot of times, you know, you'll hear that in jams. You could even use it in a 1-4-5, you know, something like. So interesting sounds there. It's just an often overlooked dominant 7th shape. Now let's take a look at another altered chord. We're going to do dominant 7th sharp 5. So this is dominant 7th with an augmented 5th. We'll also be up here still at 8th fret. So we have the dominant interval taking us to the flat 7, and then we have major 3rd, and then up on the top we have this raised 5th, so augmented 5th up there. It's a really nice chord to do a resolution into a major, you know, for a 5-1 effect. Very nice sound. So that's a pretty cool one. Let's move on from there. And we're going to do major 7 next. We're going to do odd fingering for major 7. A lot of times people really aren't too familiar with this major 7. A lot of people will know this shape and this shape. Those are two very common ones. But this is an interesting one. We have the major 3rd, the major 7th, and then an octave of the major 3rd up on the 2nd string. So it's very similar to that minor 7 that I showed you a moment ago, except this one here is the major 7 version. So you know, you could have this chord maybe move into an F. That's a nice sound. Maybe some kind of a G, and then taking you back around again. So you can come up with some pretty nice jams, nice riffs. Sometimes some of the soul R&B stuff, you can find this, and of course certainly jazz as well. So some really nice color off that particular voicing there of the major 7 5th string root, and no 5th again, you know, so we're missing the G in that particular shape. All right, let's go to the next one that I have for you. This is an interesting one. It's called minor major 7th. So with this version, what happens here is we have a sort of part of a chord here that has a minor 3rd, but it also has a major 7th interval, so it's very interesting color to it. Oftentimes what happens with the situation of how this gets used is we'll have a minor triad, and then we'll move over to this minor major 7, and then we'll have a minor 7 chord, and then some kind of minor 6 effect. So that's a pretty cool little riff there. That's a pretty interesting color. That's the first root chord found in harmonic minor. Now let's take a look at number 9. I have a major 7 flat 5 in this case. So we go to a major 7, we have to do a little bit different fingering, and we have the flat 5 operating on top. So that can move down, maybe give you a minor 7 chord for a resolution. That's kind of an interesting effect there. Could even do dominant, you know, you could do some kind of dominant color there. Or major, you could try major, 7 flat 5, the diminished 5th, to maybe even major 7. There's lots of options there when you have these altered chords, because you have sort of different color, different direction. It's pretty unstable, so where you go it can be almost up to you in how you want to make the drops around those upper tones. Let's take a look at the 10th shape now, our final shape. This is going to be a major 7 with a sharp 5. So major 7 with augmented 5th. All right, so now in this one, what's happened is we've taken our standard major 7 chord and we've raised up that note on the 2nd guitar string. You can hear can be a really nice resolve going to the 4th chord of the key. So it can be a way that you could add a little bit of tension walking from, let's say, a C major 7 to a C major 7 with that sharp 5, and then into the 4 chord, which would, in this case, away from that C would be a F major 7. So some interesting ways of moving around with these colors, because a lot of these chords I've gone over here with you, they're very unstable, and they offer you some interesting directions to take when you're studying all this on the guitar fingerboard. So some pretty cool stuff here. I hope you can get some good mileage out of it. Now, you're probably going to want to start to invest some solid study time and learning and memorizing all these chord patterns. So I went to work and put all these chords laid out as diagrams for you on my Blogger site. It's at creativeguitarstudio.blogspot.com. Well, you know, learning how to play interesting chord patterns like these, it's only the beginning. The real learning comes from the application of these patterns across chord progressions from many different types of music. Luckily, pretty much all these chords are going to be found in popular music styles. They're in rock songs and top 40 tunes, as well as blues. They're a big part of jazz. You'll find them in country music, soul music, R&B, hip-hop, Motown, classical music. The list is pretty long of where you're going to find them, because these chords are going to show up in all kinds of places musically. So, you know, learn the patterns I gave you here. Go further, get a chord book or chord app on your phone or tablet, and start learning some more patterns for these across the neck. They're going to be really good to understand, because you're going to find them used in so many different kinds of songs. Also, you know, I want to give you a tip here too. Compose some of your own original music pieces using them as well. And, you know, actually, you know, that's often the best way to commit these kinds of new chord shapes like this to memory. You know, over time, these chords are going to get easier to play, and of course, you know, down the road, your ability to understand their functionality will also get easier as well. Well, as always, thanks for joining me. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. And remember to hit the bell when you subscribe so that you never miss any of my other uploads to YouTube. Until next time, take care, and we'll catch up again on the next video. Bye for now. When it comes to online guitar lessons, there's no place better than creativeguitarstudio.com. General membership to the site is always free, and paid memberships to access our step-by-step beginner, intermediate, and advanced guitar programs are offered in reasonable monthly and annual packages. Skype lessons are also available if you need more specific instruction one-on-one to discuss the finer details of your guitar playing. Sign up today at creativeguitarstudio.com. I've got 25 years experience teaching guitar and have written a well-organized step-by-step guitar course. Head over to my website at creativeguitarstudio.com and sign up for a free membership today. Join the thousands of members worldwide who have already enrolled. There's no need to try learning the guitar on your own. Let me help you become the best guitar player that you can be.